One day in New York. It was an ordinary evening when David arrived in New York City for a business meeting. The bustling streets were alive with honking taxis, distant chatter, and the hum of neon signs. But as the clock struck midnight, the city began to change. Walking back to his hotel, David noticed the streets were emptier than usual. The once crowded sidewalks were deserted, save for a faint figure standing at the end of the block, motionless, facing away from him. Curious but uneasy, David walked faster, his footsteps echoing unnaturally loud in the silence. Suddenly, his phone buzzed, a notification from an unknown number. "Don't look back." His heart pounded, but he couldn't resist. He glanced over his shoulder. The street was empty, but the faint figure was now much closer, standing under a flickering streetlight. The figure was a man, but his face was all wrong. It was stretched, twisted, as if someone had tried to pull it off and failed. And he was smiling. David turned and ran, his breath coming in sharp gasps. The streetlights ahead began to flicker, plunging him into moments of total darkness. Each time they flickered back on, the figure was closer. He ducked into a side alley, desperate to escape. As he leaned against a wall to catch his breath, a voice whispered behind him, "Found you." David spun around, but the alley was empty. Instead, the walls around him began to bleed, thick, black liquid oozing down, spelling his name in shaky, dripping letters. Panicking, he stumbled out of the alley and into the street. The city was unrecognizable now. Skyscrapers loomed like monstrous teeth, windows glowing red, and the sidewalks cracked open to reveal endless voids beneath. His phone buzzed again. "Run!" He obeyed, sprinting aimlessly through the distorted city. Shadows danced along the walls, whispering his name. From the corner of his eye, he saw people staring at him from windows, faces pale and eyeless, mouths silently screaming. He finally reached his hotel, bursting through the doors, but the lobby was empty. The elevator doors opened on their own, beckoning him inside. Against his better judgment, he stepped in. The elevator began to ascend, but the numbers kept climbing past the top floor, 12, 13, 14, 15, until it stopped on a floor that didn't exist. The doors slid open, revealing a long, dark hallway lined with mirrors. As he stepped out, the reflections in the mirrors didn't move with him. Instead, they smiled, their heads tilting in unison. At the end of the hallway stood the twisted figure, now inches away. Its mouth opened impossibly wide, revealing rows of jagged teeth. Before David could scream, it lunged. The next morning, the city woke as usual. A janitor cleaning the street found David's phone lying on the sidewalk. The screen was cracked and a single message was displayed. "One down. Who's next?"